You know what the biggest lie we're told is? That life just happens. That somehow one day, if we're lucky enough, everything will just fall into place. But life doesn't fall into place. It's built brick by brick, decision by decision. Every single thing you're living right now is the direct result of choices you've made, big or small. And the problem is most of us don't even realize we're choosing. We wake up, hit the alarm, scroll on our phones, go to work, do what we've always done and call it life. But really, it's not life, it's autopilot. And autopilot doesn't get you anywhere new. It only keeps you stuck on the same flight path you've been on for years. You see, choices are powerful. But what's even more powerful is the fact that most people give that power away without noticing. They settle, they avoid, they wait. They think that choosing not to decide is neutral, but let me tell you something, choosing not to decide is still a decision. It's a decision to stay the same. And if you don't like where you are, that's the most dangerous choice of all. Think about it. Right now, your life is the sum of what you've been choosing for the past 5 years. Look at your relationships, your career, your health, your finances, your mindset. They are all reflections of daily decisions you've made. And here's the eye-openers, your next 5 years will look exactly the same unless you start making different choices today. Let that sink in. If you don't like the track you're on, you don't need to wait for the world to change. You don't need a miracle. You don't need someone to come save you. You just need to start making different choices. That's it. But let's be real. Why don't people make different choices? Because it's uncomfortable. Because it's hard. Because it forces you to face fear, and nobody likes facing fear. But here's the secret. Fear doesn't mean stop. Fear means pay attention. Fear means this decision matters. Fear means there's something on the other side that could change your life. And if you run every time you feel fear, you'll never know what's possible for you. So let me ask you, what are you choosing today? Are you choosing comfort or growth? Are you choosing excuses or responsibility? Are you choosing to play small because it's safe or to step up because it's time? Every choice is a vote. Every action is a ballot you cast for the kind of person you're becoming. You don't get to control every circumstance, but you always get to control your vote, and the votes add up. You don't need to win in one big move. You just need to keep casting votes for the life you want until it becomes reality. Now, some of you are thinking, but Jefferson, I've made bad choices. I've messed up too many times. Let me stop you right there. Bad choices don't define you. They educate you. Every mistake you've made has been teaching you something, preparing you for the next decision. The problem is not that you made bad choices. The problem is if you keep repeating them. That's the trap. But if you learn, if you adjust, if you decide differently today, then those past choices actually become your strength, not your weakness. And let's address another lie we tell ourselves. I don't have a choice. We say it all the time. I don't have a choice but to stay at this job. I don't have a choice but to stay in this relationship. I don't have a choice but to keep living this way. But listen closely. There is always a choice. It may not be easy. It may not be obvious. It may come with sacrifice, but there is always a choice. And the moment you realize that, the moment you accept that power, your life begins to change. Because when you say, I don't have a choice, what you're really saying is, I'm too scared to choose differently. And that's okay. Fear is normal. But don't confuse fear with limitation. Let me give you an example. Think about the alarm clock. Every morning when that alarm rings, you have a choice. Hit snooze or get up. It sounds small, right? But that tiny decision sets the tone for your entire day. Snooze says, I'd rather delay than face it. Getting up says, I'm in control even if I don't feel like it. And those choices stack. They become habits. Habits become character. And character builds your destiny. The smallest choices often end up shaping the biggest outcomes. Now, I know some of you are waiting for the big opportunity. You're thinking, when the right chance comes along, I'll make my move. But opportunities don't show up for people who aren't prepared. Opportunity is not a rescue mission. It's a mirror. It reflects the preparation you've been making all along. If you're not making strong choices in the small things, you won't suddenly be able to make them in the big things. That's why your daily choices matter so much more than you realize. Here's another truth. Sometimes the best choice you can make is the hardest one. Choosing to walk away from people who drain you. choosing to stay consistent when nobody's watching, choosing to say no when you've always said yes, choosing to take a step forward even though you can't see the entire staircase. Easy choices rarely change your life. Hard ones do. And the difference between the life you want and the life you have right now is usually one hard choice away. But here's the good news. You don't need to figure it all out today. You don't need to map the next 50 years. You just need to win the next choice. That's it. Don't let the weight of the entire future crush you. Just focus on the choice in front of you right now and choose with intention. Do that enough times and you'll wake up one day in a completely different life. So let me ask you, and I want you to really think about this. Are your choices today building the life you actually want or the life you're trying to escape? Because that's the question that separates the dreamers from the doers, the ones who talk about change from the ones who actually make it. And nobody can answer it for you. Not your friends, not your parents, not society, you. And if you don't like the answer, that's the best news of all, because it means you have the power to change it. You don't need permission. You don't need approval. You don't need to wait for someone to open the door. The power has been in your hands the whole time. And today is the day to start using it, because the choices you make today, right now, are shaping the person you'll be tomorrow. And that person is waiting on you to step up. So stop drifting. Stop waiting. Stop letting life happen to you. Start choosing with intention, with courage, with vision. Because life is not a routine. It's not autopilot. It's not random. Life is a series of choices. And the most important one is always the one you're about to make next. You know what the hardest prison in the world is. It's not a cell with bars. It's not walls made of concrete. It's not a lock and key. The hardest prison you will ever live in is your own mind. Because if your thoughts keep you trapped, it doesn't matter how much freedom you have on the outside, you'll still live like a prisoner on the inside. And what builds those walls? The stories you tell yourself every single day. Stories that sound like, I'm not good enough. I'll never succeed. I don't have what it takes. It's too late for me. What if I fail? What will people think of me? These are the sentences that silently run your life. And the truth is they don't come from the world. They come from you. They're not reality. They're not facts. They're scripts you've memorized so well that you've forgotten they're just stories. Think about it. How many opportunities have you walked away from because that voice in your head said, you're not ready? How many times have you stayed quiet when you wanted to speak up because that voice whispered, no one wants to hear from you? How many dreams have you buried because that same voice kept asking, what if it doesn't work out? And here's the crazy thing. Most of those fears never even happen. 99% of the disasters you imagine in your head never see the light of day. But you let that 1% control you, keep you caged, keep you small. That's not a life. That's a sentence you've been serving without even realizing it. But here's the eye-opener. You are both the prisoner and the guard. You are the one who keeps locking yourself in with the story you've been repeating. And because it's comfortable, because it's familiar, you don't even question it. You've lived with it so long that you call it truth. But truth is different. Truth is that you have the ability to change. Truth is that you've overcome things before that you thought would break you. Truth is that you are more resilient than you give yourself credit for. And truth is that the voice in your head is not your future. It's just your habit. You see, the human brain is wired to protect you, not to push you. That inner critic, that voice of fear, it's not there to tell you the truth. It's there to keep you safe. Safe from rejection, safe from failure, safe from risk. But safety is not the same as freedom. Safety is not the same as living. If you only ever listen to that voice, you'll end up safe but stuck. You'll survive, but you won't thrive. And you'll look back one day and realize you never gave yourself permission to actually live. So how do you break free? It starts with one decision to replace the story. You don't silence the voice by waiting. You don't erase it by hoping. You replace it by speaking a new truth louder. When the voice says, I'm not good enough, you replace it with, I am learning. I am growing. I am capable. When it says, what if I fail? You replace it with, what if I succeed? When it says, it's too late, you replace it with, now is the perfect time. This is not about blind positivity. This is about taking control of the narrative in your mind. Because the story you repeat becomes the life you live. And let me tell you something. You've already been doing this, just in the wrong direction. Every time you tell yourself, I can't, you strengthen that belief. Every time you tell yourself, it's impossible, you build that wall higher. But if you can build a prison with your words, you can build a doorway too. You can rewrite the script. You can train your mind to work for you instead of against you. And the key is consistency. One new thought won't change your life, just like one workout won't change your body. But practice will, repetition will, commitment will. Now I know what you're thinking, Jefferson, it's not that easy. My situation is real. My pain is real. My struggles are real. And you're right. Your situation may not be your fault. But the way you think about it, that's always your responsibility. Because two people can live through the same hardship, the same loss, the same failure, and one will let it define them while the other lets it refine them. The difference isn't what happened. It's the story they chose to tell themselves about it. And that choice changes everything. So here's the challenge. The next time that inner voice tries to hold you back, don't fight it with silence. Fight it with truth. When it says you're not ready, remind yourself you'll never feel ready, but you can start anyway. When it says you'll fail, remind yourself that failure is not the opposite of success. It's part of it. When it says you're not enough, remind yourself that you are becoming more every single day. You can't stop the voice from speaking, but you can stop it from being the only one in the room. Because freedom doesn't come when your circumstances change. Freedom comes when your perspective does. Freedom is when you realize you are not your thoughts. You are the thinker of your thoughts. You are not the story. You are the storyteller. And if you can write a story that keeps you trapped, you can write one that sets you free. Let me leave you with this. The walls of the prison in your mind are not made of reality. They're made of repetition. You've been repeating the same limiting beliefs for so long that you forgot you can change the script. And the door has always been unlocked. All you have to do is walk through. That means the life you've been waiting for isn't out there somewhere. It's already here, hidden behind the story you've been telling yourself. Change the story, and you change the life. So I'll ask you this, and I want you to really answer it in your heart. Are you going to keep living in the prison of your thoughts, or are you finally going to use the key that's been in your hand the whole time? Because the only thing standing between the life you have and the life you want is the story you decide to believe. And that choice is yours right here. Right now, you know what most people get wrong about change. They think it takes years. They think it's this long, complicated, impossible process. They think you have to wait for the right time, the right moment, the right conditions. But here's the truth. Life doesn't change in years. Life changes in moments. One decision, one action, one step forward can rewrite your entire story. And yet most people never take that step because they're waiting for the perfect opportunity, waiting for a sign, waiting for permission, waiting until they feel ready. But let me tell you, if you keep waiting, you will wait your whole life because the perfect moment doesn't exist. There is no magic day when everything lines up. There is no alarm clock that rings and says, now is your time. You create the time by starting. The future doesn't show up fully formed. The future is built by what you do right now. And that's what makes this moment so powerful. Because right now, this very second, you hold the ability to change the entire trajectory of your life. That power doesn't belong to tomorrow. It doesn't belong to next week. It belongs to you right now. And the question is, what will you do with it? Here's the thing, too many people confuse planning with progress. They think if they keep preparing, keep researching, keep talking about what they want, then somehow they're moving forward. But planning without action is just procrastination in disguise. You don't need a perfect plan. You need the courage to take an imperfect step. Because that first step will teach you more than 100 plans ever could. You don't learn by thinking about it. You learn by doing it. But here's where people get stuck. They think the step has to be huge. They think it has to be life-shattering, dramatic, something that flips their world upside down. And that pressure paralyzes them. But the truth is, you don't need to leap the whole staircase. You just need to take the first step. Small decisions, repeated with consistency, will do more for your life than one massive move you never actually make. The biggest transformations are built from small, consistent actions that compound over time. And let's talk about fear, because fear is the number one reason people don't start. They're afraid of failing, afraid of being judged, afraid of looking foolish, afraid of not being enough. And I get it, fear feels real. But here's the secret: fear is not proof you can't do it. Fear is proof that it matters. Fear shows up when something is important. And if you let fear stop you, you're letting the very signal that points to growth become the reason you stay stuck. The goal is not to eliminate fear. The goal is to act in spite of it. Courage isn't the absence of fear. Courage is choosing to move even when you're scared. So what does it look like to choose your future right now? It looks like saying no to the things that drain you. It looks like cutting ties with the habits that are pulling you backward. It looks like committing to the small disciplines that nobody sees, but everybody notices when they add up. It looks like speaking up when you'd normally stay silent. It looks like showing up for yourself every single day, even when nobody's clapping for you. That's how the future is built, in the quiet, in the small, in the moments where you choose to act differently. And maybe you're thinking, but I've tried before. I've started and I failed. I've made promises to myself that I didn't keep. Let me tell you something. You are not your past attempts. Failure isn't the end of the story. It's the raw material you use to write the next chapter. Every failure is data. Every setback is feedback. Every stumble is proof that you were at least moving. You cannot fail if you refuse to stop. The only true failure is quitting, and as long as you're breathing, you still have another chance to start again. Now let's get practical. You want your future to look different. Then don't think in decades. Don't even think in years. Think in decisions. Ask yourself, what choice can I make today that my future self will thank me for? It doesn't have to be glamorous. It doesn't have to be visible. It just has to be different, because one small, different choice today creates a ripple that grows bigger tomorrow. And the compound effect of those ripples is what transforms your life. But here's the kicker. Nobody can make those choices for you. Nobody can hand you discipline. Nobody can hand you courage. Nobody can hand you responsibility. You have to decide. That's the weight and the beauty of it. Because yes, it means the responsibility is yours, but it also means the power is yours. It means you don't have to wait on anyone. You don't have to wait for approval. You don't have to wait for a break. You don't have to wait for someone to see your potential. You get to decide right now to step into it yourself. And I'll be honest with you, most people won't. Most people will hear a message like this, nod their head, feel inspired for a few minutes, and then go right back to the same patterns. Why? Because it's easier to stay the same. It's easier to live in the comfort of the known, even if the known is miserable, than to face the discomfort of change. But easy and meaningful rarely go together. The path of least resistance is comfortable, but it's also crowded. The path of growth is uncomfortable, but it leads to freedom. And only a few are willing to take it. The question is, are you one of them? Because your future isn't waiting somewhere down the road. It's being built with every choice you're making right now. Every second you delay, every excuse you accept, every fear you surrender to, you're shaping a future you don't want. But every time you act with courage, every time you choose growth, every time you do the hard thing, you're building the future you've been dreaming of. And the beautiful thing is, it doesn't matter where you've been. It doesn't matter how long you've waited. It doesn't matter how many times you've failed. The future is always now. So stop saying, someday. Stop saying, when I have more time. Stop saying, when I feel ready. You'll never feel ready. You'll never have enough time. And someday is not a day on the calendar. You don't get to your future by waiting. You get there by creating. And creating begins the moment you decide to take ownership of your next move. So here's the choice in front of you right now. You can keep living in the cycle of waiting, wishing, and wondering. Or you can draw a line in the sand and say, this is it. Today is the day I stop waiting and start becoming. That's not motivation. That's responsibility. That's ownership. That's you stepping into the role of author of your life instead of a spectator in it. And if you take nothing else from this message, take this: your future doesn't start later. It doesn't start when everything feels perfect. It doesn't start when you finally have the resources. It doesn't start when people believe in you. It starts the moment you decide to take the next step. It starts with you. It starts now.